Alright folks, welcome to the video. So, the finalists for Super Trowel 2024 have been announced to the general public. So I thought I would do a little video and run through each finalist and give you my thoughts and opinions on what I've seen from the Southern Heat and the Northern Heats, and give you my tip for who I think is going to push Charlie for the title this year. So I'll show you the Super Trowel video that goes from 12 all the way down to 1, Charlie being 1, and then I'll run through each individual one, and then at the end I'll give you my tip for who I think is going to push Charlie all the way. So let's dive into the Super Trowel video, and then we'll break it down into a bit more detail after that. So in 12th position is Luke Collins, who competed at the Southern Heat. I managed to grab a few words with him. We discussed his method, which is pick and dipping, the size of his trowel, nice little trowel. We discussed corners, big corners, little corners. So he's going to run with the smaller corners. Pretty good, to be honest with you. He completed 8 courses and got a corner on each end for the 9th course, but obviously didn't get a chance to run it in. Looked pretty neat. I don't think he would have suffered a huge amount of deductions. And I think the experience of the Southern Heat is going to push him right up that table, because he's pretty fit, pretty quick, pretty well organised, and I think he's going to climb that table, and that experience in the Southern Heat is going to stand him in good stead. So one to watch for sure. So in 11th position, Ash Mahoney. I'm sure you all know Ash far better than you probably know me. So Ash finished 2nd in last year's final, and obviously had to go through the regionals just like everyone else. So I was there at the Northern Heat, and I know Ash laid around 440 bricks, I think it was. He did suffer a significant amount of deductions, and I think his total count was 186. I'll put a link to Ash's video in the description where, to be fair, perfectly transparent and breaks down the deductions, what they deducted for, and his total count. So Ash, vastly experienced. He was very fast at the Northern Heat, I've got to say, and I think he'd be right up there, but he's going to obviously have to watch the deductions, and I think obviously he's going to be up there. I'd tip him for the top 3. So in 10th position, Jack Sykes, father and son combo, competed at the Northern Heat, completed 7 courses in total. Would be very surprised if he had any deductions. Very neat, very tidy, very methodical, very quiet and unassuming, sort of almost went under the radar, very sort of little wasted movements, very efficient. And I think if he can pick that pace up, I reckon he'd get in the top 5, good bricky, sort of cool and calm under pressure. And I think if he can just pick that pace up a little bit, I think he'd be right up there. So good bricky. So in 9th position, completed 7 courses, nearly got the 8th across, but 7 in total, was Tony Fairfield, who competed at the Southern Heat. So, Tony looked nice and neat, methodical, 7 courses, so couldn't have suffered a huge amount of deductions. So good, solid, think he'd do all right as well. So in 8th position, Dale Worton, who competed at the Northern Heat. I actually caught up with Dale after the setting out, because I was watching him work, and I thought, very sort of methodical and confident, and I see him marking out all his perps and, you know, pencil lines on there, and he just looks very well drilled, very organised and very fluid. Was watching him work in the actual, you know, lay-in period, very fast, very sort of confident, whizzed his corners up quickly, ran them in, good, solid. And I caught up with him at the end. He laid 8 courses, jointed both sides as well, which was quite noticeable on his wall that his perps and his bed joints were full. Didn't pick and dip, just spread and run. The reverse side of the wall, so the overhand side, I thought he run in very well. So I think he's going to be right up there and pushing for the top 1, 2, or 3 spots. I think this experience, like all of them, I keep saying it, but all of them are going to gain a massive amount of confidence and experience from the regional heat, and he's going to be right up there. I think if he could possibly pick and dip, because it is quicker, in my opinion, I think he'd push them numbers even more. So in 7th position, competing in the Southern Heat and no stranger to Super Trowel, is Antonio. Finished 3rd last year, I think I'm right in saying that, and didn't suffer any deductions in the final last year. So completed 6.5 courses, very good, very experienced. I think his labourer won the Hod Carriers race last year as well, following a little bit of controversy and recount. But you'll notice the shorts because they're pretty loud. But good solid pairing, experienced, with the no deductions, always stand a chance. I just think he could do with maybe picking up the pace a little bit. And maybe there's a balance between the odd deduction and getting a few more courses in. But one to watch, and I think he'll be in the sort of top 5 or 6. So taking 6th position, Liam Doherty, who competed in the Northern Heat, and I thought he was really, really good. Very neat, very methodical. He was using the Dutch trowel, which I got some footage of. I did want to have a few words with him on camera, but he didn't want to be on there, and I have to respect that. Very, very good. Very sort of neat and steady, good pace all the way through for the full 45 minutes. I'd be surprised if he suffered any deductions at all. And I just think if he could pick up that pace a little bit, then he'd be right up there. I do think the muck from the Northern Heat wasn't quite as good as the muck from the Southern Heat. It was a little bit wet and a little bit sloppy, although the bricks were very dry. But I just think if that mortar combination with his trowel, with his technique, is right on the day, I think he's going to be a dark horse. Very neat, very good. Didn't really break sweat, didn't waste any energy, didn't waste any movements. And this experience, again, is going to stand him in good stead. And I think he will be right up towards the top. So 5th position was Tom Edwards, who competed at the Northern Heat, and he completed 9 courses and also had a corner up ready for the 10th course. Very, very, very fast. I think he is, again, is going to be right up there and pushing for the top spot. I've got no idea on the amount of deductions he would have suffered, but looked pretty solid to me. Very fluid, pick and dip, get after it. Again, the experience added it when he goes into the final. He'll be right up there. I think he'll be up there. Pushing for the title, I reckon. Very, very good. So coming in at 4th is James Boydell, and he completed 7 courses. I actually stood with him for pretty much the entire final last year, and we was having a chat through the final, talking about different methods of laying. He picked actually Charlie Collison on the day from memory, but obviously he had the experience of being at the final last year, which I'm sure a lot of the contestants were. But obviously he knew what he was letting himself in for. Quietly confident in his ability and his speed, otherwise he wouldn't have entered. And again, I think very good, very neat. And looking at his wall, I'd be very surprised if there's any deductions. I think he would have learnt a lot from watching the final itself and then competing. And I think that will stand him in good stead going forward. So again, good, solid competitor. I don't think James would have suffered many deductions. So good, solid, rock solid, contestant. And on his day, I think he's going to be pushing people for some really good numbers. Taking 3rd spot, Evan Haberfield, who competed in the Northern Heat. And I got to say, super impressed with this man. 344 bricks on the day. Understood and applied the rules wisely, in my opinion. So when he completed the wall, I caught up with him and he didn't manage to join the backside of the wall. So we went through it and I asked him about the deductions, and his understanding of the rules are that you get a deduction if the joints aren't full. So not necessarily struck, but if there's any gaps in the perps or the bed joints, you suffer a deduction. So super impressed with this lad. He's going to be right up there pushing for the top spot. So taking 2nd spot, or technically 1st spot, across the 2 regional heats is Phil Boucher. So Phil and his brother flew all the way over from Philadelphia on the Sunday, was on site here in England for a couple of days on the Monday and Tuesday, and then come and competed at Super Trowel Southern Heat on the Wednesday. So considering he hasn't used our bricks, hasn't used our mortar, it's under a high pressure environment, he obviously done incredibly well. So he got 8 courses, got a single brick on each end, so was about to run his 9th in. I do believe he's competed at the highest level in Vegas under spec mix, and I think he done 800 bricks. Don't quote me on that, but we was having a chat with a couple of people in the crowd, and I think he's put away 800 before in an hour. So I think with the experience of being over here with our bricks and our mortar, obviously he's going to be pushing for the top spot. But things are going to change in the final. You've got a longer wall, you've got more time. So there's a few different variables. So will the longer wall suit people better than the shorter wall? We won't know. So I do anticipate Phil being right up there. And I think he's going to push Charlie all the way. But again, like I said, things are slightly different in the final. So you can't always compare the regionals to the main event. So we'll have to wait and see. So obviously the reigning champ is Charlie Collison, so he doesn't have to compete in the regionals because he gets a bye straight into the final. So I know Charlie's been hard practicing. My top 3 pick for Super Trowel 2024. I think Charlie is going to take the title again. I think he's very efficient. I think he's minimal amount of movements wasted. I spoke to him after last year's final. He'd already identified some areas he could improve and that he would have done differently. So he would have been practicing them, you know, before this year's final. Then he's obviously been watching the footage of the regional heats. So I think Charlie goes into this final as a strong favourite. Number 2 is either going to be Phil or Evan, in my opinion. Like I said, just a couple of variables that are going to possibly play into people's hands or against people. So the longer wall and the longer time. It's actually quite a lot of time, an hour lay-in, plus the wall's longer. So you're down at that lower height for a longer period of time. You know, 40 brick run is quite long. So I think if people maybe can practice a little bit, I think that'd be a good idea. But my top 3 for Super Trowel 2024 is Charlie Collison, Phil Bichetti, and Evan Haberfield. So that's just my opinion. Obviously, I'm no expert. I'm just a brickie, just like everyone else. And so I just thought I'd give my view on the finalists and what I've seen and how I thought they'd done. But I couldn't do it, to be honest with you. I'd probably crumble under the pressure, but credit to everyone. Looking forward to the final. Put your comments below on who you think is going to be pushing Charlie for the title, or do you think he's got it sewn up? Be interested to hear your thoughts, and look forward to getting some footage on the day. It's not a million miles away. Grab your tickets. I'll put a link in the description below. Apprentices get tickets for free. You just need to be able to prove that you're enrolled on an apprenticeship course, etc. So please read the details that go with that when you're reserving your tickets. So I'll be there in Milton Keynes in August the 8th, I think it is. I'm looking forward to it. So that's my take on the finalists. Congratulations to everyone that's made it through, and look forward to catching up with you in August and watching the big event unfold. So until next time, thanks for watching. Peace and love.